I lived alone in my apartment for a few years. It was a comfortable and quiet place, perfect for my daily routine. However, everything changed when a new couple moved into the apartment next door. At first, they seemed like nice and trustworthy people, and I didn't think much of it. The first few months were uneventful. We would greet each other in the hallway and exchange some friendly words. They seemed happy and always smiling. Everything went smoothly for a while until I started hearing some arguments between them. Initially, the arguments were mild, the kind of disagreements that happen between couples occasionally. But over time, the intensity and frequency of the arguments increased. I could hear the shouting and raised voices through the thin walls of the apartment. I was bothered, but I decided not to get involved. After all, arguments between couples were common, right? One day, a particularly intense argument happened, the worst I had ever heard. But suddenly everything was strangely silent. I had never experienced this kind of silence after such a heated argument. It had never happened before. Curious and somewhat worried, I went to their apartment door and knocked. No response. I knocked again, a bit louder, but still nothing. I started to wonder if I should call someone or just leave it and go back to my apartment. I ended up opting to go back to sleep, hoping things would resolve themselves. The next morning, as I was getting ready for work, I noticed something strange. I saw the man of the couple carrying a large suitcase towards the elevator. This wouldn't be so unusual, except that he rarely left early for work. Both of them usually stayed home until late morning. This sight made me uncomfortable, but I thought maybe they were going on a trip or something. I let it go and went on with my day. However, in the following days, something even more disturbing happened. The arguments stopped completely. The sudden silence was deafening. I had gotten used to the noise of their arguments, but now the apartment next door seemed empty and dead. Again, I decided to check. I knocked on the door, called out their names, but no response came. Later that day, while relaxing at home, I decided to watch a documentary about serial killers. At one point in the documentary, they showed a killer who had put a victim inside a large suitcase, exactly like the one I had seen the man from the apartment carrying days earlier. My stomach twisted suddenly. A wave of understanding hit me hard. I quickly connected the dots in my mind. The suitcase, the arguments, the sudden silence, everything started to make sense. It was like an ice-cold feeling down my spine. Without wasting time, I grabbed my phone and called the police. I explained the situation, mentioning my suspicions about the couple next door. They responded promptly, sending a patrol to the apartment. The police arrived quickly and knocked on the apartment door. No response. With authorization, they broke down the door. What they found inside left me in shock. The apartment was empty, completely empty. There were no signs of the couple. The furniture was there, but everything seemed untouched, as if no one had lived there for days. The police began to investigate, searching for any clues that could explain what happened. Among the couple's belongings, they found disturbing evidence. They found some blood, but not enough for someone to die. They contacted her family, who confirmed they hadn't seen her or had any news about her. The woman of the couple was officially declared missing. Authorities continued to investigate, but the man was nowhere to be found. Suspicions about him only grew as more details emerged. To me, it all felt surreal. How could I have lived next to such a terrible situation without realizing it? The feeling of guilt and shock consumed me. Days turned into weeks, and the case remained unsolved. Authorities followed every possible lead, but the man from the apartment remained missing. His photo was widely circulated, but he seemed to have disappeared without a trace. For me, the incident left deep scars. I wondered if I could have done something to help or intervene earlier. Thoughts about the missing woman haunted my mind. The community around us was shaken by the news. We never expected something like this to happen in our quiet building. People started locking their doors more carefully, and the sense of security that once existed disappeared. As for me, I took extra security measures. I installed security cameras in my apartment and became more vigilant about my neighbors and surroundings. The fear from that experience stayed with me for a long time. To this day, the woman has never been found, and the man from the couple remains missing. The questions continue to echo in my mind. What happened to her? Where is he now? Was she still alive in that suitcase? The tragedy left an indelible mark on all of us. After all, you never know what might be happening around you, even in a place you consider safe. 2 years ago, I made the decision to move to the United Kingdom in search of freedom and independence. At 18, I left behind a tumultuous home, eager to escape the toxicity that permeated my family life. The opportunity to study at a British university was a dream come true, a chance to start anew, in a distant place. As soon as I arrived, I dove headfirst into university life. In the first year, I shared a small apartment with classmates in a student residence. It was an exciting time of making new friends and exploring the city. But as the second year approached, I decided to take the next step towards independence, renting a house with some friends, away from the constraints of student accommodations. Our new home was in a quiet neighborhood, surrounded by other houses and families. However, our peace would soon be disturbed by the neighbors next door. At first glance, they didn't seem much different from us, a group of young adults living together. But something about those guys always seemed out of place. I remember an incident shortly after we moved in. Screams coming from the house next door, followed by police sirens. One of the guys was visibly injured, covered in blood and cuts, while the others seemed shaken. The police arrived and took one of them away in handcuffs. We never found out exactly what happened that night, but it marked the beginning of a series of strange events involving our neighbors. They were loud, often arguing loudly late into the night, and always seemed to be engaged in suspicious activities. One day, as I was returning from the local market, I encountered one of the guys outside my house. He was the one who had been injured before. He was smoking something and had a vacant look in his eyes. He approached me with an odd demeanor, as if he knew me. "Hey, you live here, right?" he asked with an uncomfortable smile. I responded cautiously, confirming that yes, we lived there. He continued, with a slurred voice, "You're very pretty, you know. Would you like to go out with me sometime?" A chill ran down my spine, and I quickly responded that I wasn't interested. He laughed strangely and said he would see me soon. Those words lingered in my mind like a sinister omen. After that disturbing encounter, I tried to avoid any interaction with the neighbors as much as possible, but something was wrong. One night, while relaxing in the small backyard to smoke a cigarette, I noticed that the wooden door leading to the alley was ajar. The makeshift cords we used to keep it closed had been cut. Despite instinctive fear, I ignored the situation and closed the door again, making sure to secure it firmly with a new piece of rope. I didn't want to admit to myself that something was amiss. The nights became a challenge, with the shouts and noises from the neighboring house keeping us awake. It felt like something was about to happen. One night, my boyfriend decided to stay overnight with me. He was a comforting presence, and I felt safer with him around. However, that night would change everything. Around 3 a.m, we were awakened by a loud bang followed by muffled whispers. My boyfriend gently woke me, alerting me to the strange sounds. We stayed silent, listening intently. Then, the unthinkable happened. The back door slammed open, making noise in the silence of the night. We could hear footsteps beside the open window of my room. Frozen with fear, we realized that someone was trying to enter through the window. We heard whispering voices in a foreign language, discussing their next moves. Our minds went into survival mode. Without hesitation, we grabbed our phones and quickly got dressed. We ran out of the room, leaving the house through the front door. As soon as we were outside, I called the police in a panic. I quickly explained the situation and asked for help. Fortunately, the police station was nearby and the officers responded quickly. As we waited, my heart pounded so hard, it felt like it was about to burst. I looked back, expecting to see shadows moving inside the dark house. The police sirens finally echoed down the street. We saw the neighbors running away from the house, but 2 of them were apprehended by the police as they attempted to flee. A third managed to escape temporarily. The police entered the house next door and discovered the hidden horror there. They found drugs and a large knife, possibly used for nefarious purposes. The truth about our sinister neighbors was finally coming to light. The guys were arrested, and one of them was convicted of illegal weapon possession and suspicious intentions. Authorities confirmed that we were in real danger that night. Despite the relief of being safe, the trauma of that experience lingered. The nights became a constant challenge, filled with nightmares and fear of what could have happened if we hadn't woken up in time. In the following months, I sought help to deal with the emotional trauma. Regular conversations with my boyfriend were essential in processing what happened and overcoming persistent fear. I decided to return home a few months later, unable to stay in that haunted environment. The comfort of family and distance from those terrible events helped me begin to heal. Today, I still carry the scars of those dark days. The nights are harder, and the sound of every noise brings unwanted memories. But I am grateful to be alive and to have my boyfriend by my side, a constant reminder that we survived together. I will never forget that terrifying night, but I am determined not to let fear control my life. Each step forward is a victory over the past, a demonstration of courage and resilience against the shadows that once tried to consume us. Thank you for watching until here. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe so you don't miss the next ones. See you soon.